Welcome to the fascinating world of theatre. Today you will learn about the most popular performing space, that is the proscenium stage. The proscenium stage is also known as picture frame stage because the spectators observe the action of the play through the frame of proscenium arch. What is proscenium arch? In a proscenium theatre, the proscenium arch acts as a frame through which action can be seen. Described any staging configuration in which audience faces the stage directly. Most theatres built after 1950s have an open arch, which is essentially the undecorated orbiter in the wall. But some may be embellished and ornate depending on the time period they were constructed. Here are some examples of proscenium from various theatres. Proscenium arch, which separates the stage from the audience, can vary greatly in both height and width. Theatre with 300 to 500 seats generally has a proscenium arch that is 18 to 22 feet height and 36 to 40 feet wide. Grand drape. What are the details you notice? What are the architectural differences? Behind the proscenium sits the grand drape, also referred to as house curtains, act curtain, or main rag. This curtain is used to obscure or to cover the acting area from the audience view. A theatre proscenium is part of theatre's architecture and therefore has fixed proportions. However, in many scenarios, scene calls for a reduction in the proscenium opening. For this purpose, curtains called teasers, tormentors, legs, and maskings are laid to obscure undesired view of the backstage area. The drapes can be lowered and rehung to reduce the height and width of the opening. Fire safety. A safety curtain or fire curtain is a fire safety precaution used in a large proscenium theatres. It is usually a heavy fiberglass or iron curtain located immediately behind the proscenium arch. The safety curtain is sometimes referred to as an iron in British theatres, regardless of actual construction material. The curtain is extremely heavy and therefore requires its own dedicated operating mechanism. In an emergency, the stage manager can usually pull a lever backstage which will cause curtain to fall rapidly into position. What is a stage? The playing area behind or upstage of the proscenium arch is referred to as the stage. The stage floor is a working surface that serves number of diverse functions. For actors, it must provide a form resilient, strong enough to withstand the shock. For dancers, it should have a non-skid surface that facilitates the movement. For scenic purposes, a stage floor needs to be paintable. It should slightly muffle the sound of footfalls and shifting scenery. Speaking of the stage deck, the deck is the designated space for the performance, a focal point to understand the idea of moving upstage or downstage. You have to know a bit of theatre history. During the Renaissance ages, the theatre sloped down towards the audience. Stages were racked for acoustic reasons and so that the audience could see the action on stage even if they were on same level. The stage divisions. This is where the term upstage and downstage are derived from. Stage right and left are indicated from the perspective of the performer. Areas of the stage are named from the actor's point of view. If you are standing on the stage looking out at the audience, stage right will be your right and stage left will be your left. Upstage towards the back wall and downstage is close to the audience. Wings. The space on either side of the stage are called the wings. Wings are primarily used for storage. During multi-scene production, all sorts of scenic elements, properties and other equipments are stored in the wings and until they are needed on stage. Wings are typically masked with drapes and used for performers preparing to enter the stage. They also may house lighting booms as shown here in the blue. Cyclorama. In theatre and film, a cyclorama is a large curtain or wall, often concave, positioned at the back of the stage. It often encircles or partially encloses the stage to form a background. It was popularized in German theatre of the 19th century and continues to common usage today in all theatres across the world. Apron. The apron is an extension of the stage from the proscenium arch towards the audience or seating area. Orchestra pit. Many proscenium theatres have an orchestra pit, which is placed between the apron and audience. It is used to hold the pit band or orchestra during the performance that need live music. To hold an orchestra, the pit obviously need to be fairly large. The depth of the pit varies, but a good pit is deep enough so that the orchestra doesn't interfere with the spectator's view of the stage. Some theatre orchestra pit is hidden beneath the removable floor panel under the apron. When the pit is needed for the production, the floor panel is removed. In other theatres, the pit is placed beneath the auditorium floor. When not in use, it is covered with removable panel and auditorium seat are placed on top. This method has the advantage that additional ticket can be sold when pit is not being used. Auditorium. The shape of the typical proscenium theatre auditorium or house is roughly rectangular, with the proscenium arch located on one of the narrow ends of the rectangle. Normally, each seat is approximately perpendicular to the proscenium arch to reduce reflection of sound waves in auditorium. None of its finished surfaces, wall, ceiling, the floor should be parallel with each others. Thus, the side walls of most auditorium angled out from the proscenium. Auditorium is almost always curved and the ceiling generally slopes down towards the rear of the house. The floor of the auditorium is inclined from the stage to the rear of the house. Angling the house floor includes not only the acoustics of the theatre but also spectator view of the stage by elevating each successive row. Sound and light control area. The lighting control booth is generally located at the back of the auditorium. It normally has one or more large windows to provide light board operator within unobstructed view of the stage. This is where stage manager calls the cue for the show. The sound booth with a large window is usually located in a similar back of the house location. The sound operator frequently runs the sound mixer from a position in the auditorium so that he or she can hear what the audience is hearing and balance all the sound sources accordingly. Traps. Many theatres have traps cut into the stage floor. These removable sections provides access to space beneath the stage. This hole in the middle of the stage can be filled with stairs, and elevators, or a slide, or it can be left open depending on the desired visual and physical effect. Ideally, the majority of the stage floor is trapped. Revolving stage. The resolve, that is also called a turntable or revolving stage, provides a visually interesting and efficient manner of shifting scenery. Some theatre has resolves built into the stage floor. Depending on the size of the resolve, or all the multi-set design can be fit onto it and rotate to bring other scenic elements arena into view. Fly loft. Above the stage area, the area directly over the stage is called fly loft. The fly loft, also referred to as the fly, is usually quite tall, minimally 2.5 times height of the proscenium arch, to allow scenery to be raised out of the sight of the audience. A fly system or theatrical rigging system is a system of rope lines, blocks, pulleys, counterweights, and related devices within a theatre that enables a stage crew to fly, hoist quickly, quietly, and safely components such as curtains, lights, scenery, stage effects, and sometimes people. Systems are typically designed to fly components between clear view of audience and out of the view into a large opening known as fly loft. Above the stage deck is the fly space, the grid, and the catwalks. The catwalk is a service platform where lighting and sound equipments can be manipulated. The grid or gridiron. It is located just below the roof of the fly loft. It serves as a platform to hold some of the equipments used to fly scenario, as well as providing the brandish support for the weight of the scenery and curtains being flown. Several systems are used to fly scenery. The two primary methods are the rope set and counterweight that works on the same operating principle, counterbalancing. Rope set. The oldest method of flying is with the rope and pulley. The pulley is attached to the grid and the rope is fed through it and tied to the scenery. A stage hand pulls on the free end of the rope and raises the scenery. If the load is too heavy, a sandbag is tied to the free end of the rope as counterbalance. The rope system operates exactly like a rope and pulley. The counterweight system works on the same principle as the rope set system and is much safer. The support rope for the battens have been replaced with steel cables.